One of the first things I remember her saying when we'd ask her a question was, maybe yes, maybe no, you never know. And I'm not sure that that's really changed very much at all.
I'm Amy Sandeen. I am originally from Hastings, Nebraska, and I've come back to my roots. I grew up in Hastings and went to the public schools, got a great education, learned from so many teachers, not just classroom teachers, but babysitters and neighbors, and Mrs. Johnson back behind our house where I would disappear and Mom would have to come look for me because we were having tea parties in her backyard. And after graduating from public schools, I took a year off as an exchange student and then went to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, went to college and stayed there. And I loved it, but I missed home. I was looking for a way to get back to my roots when an opportunity came up to move home and work with Prairie Loft Center, and the stars aligned. I came back in 2008 as the director of the nonprofit, and I'm so happy here. It's a wonderful place to be. My creative life here in Hastings feeds my soul. I came back here from being in the Twin Cities where art is everywhere. It's a cosmopolitan town. There's theater and culture around every corner, and I thought I would miss it. I have more of it here in my life now in Hastings than I ever did in a town with 1 million people. And even in my work, I get to be creative and make a community that is the one I want to live in. My dad is my inspiration. He was a businessman my whole life, and I thought that's who he was. And I moved back 6 years ago and got to know him after his working life was done. And when he retired, he really became who he is meant to be.
I suppose I tried to bring creativity to anything I did. It's harder to do that in an office setting. I had the luxury of working to a large extent for myself, certainly answerable to other people, but chances to exercise creativity. And in fact, even when I retired, I didn't think so much about artistic endeavors as I did, more loosely making things, woodworking and hammer and nail kinds of things without necessarily the creative part of it, someone else's directions and following them. I owe Amy a debt of gratitude because she recognized that we could maybe go beyond that. Amy being closer by is really cool. And I've seen the results of what she does in town. She's good at what she does, she's good at relating to people, and she's a good educator. And what makes all of that up, if you could clone it, it would solve a lot of the problems, I think. And I'm tremendously hopeful about the future of small town Nebraska. She talked earlier about leaving, and I think probably like most teenagers, they leave because they are nowhere. And some years later, she came back. The thing that she didn't talk about that I heard is responsibility. And I think part of that with people her age who have returned to Hastings that I've seen is that they are now here. And they're taking responsibility for their community. They're taking the place of people my age. And that's the responsive part of living in a small community like this, where you still have some freedom to say, life can be better, life can be different, and go for it.
It's also the middle of everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we're sending those sparks and lines out into the world where these kids are going to grow up knowing what they know from learning from people like you and me and Prairie Loft and the artist community, and make the world better for what they know from this place. I hope.
I hope so too.